Hi, this is Melody Rondeau, and we're going to be going through the lesson on volume of a pyramid. Our learning intention, I'm learning to apply volume formulas to solve problems. Our success criteria, I can use the volume formula for a pyramid to solve problems, and I can use volume formulas to solve problems with composite shapes. So we're actually going to start one page before this in your note, or 2 pages before this in your notebook. On the volume and areas like formula sheet is the very beginning of the section where we wrote down a bunch of formulas. So we're going to start there. See if I can get my pen to agree with us, and we'll get going here. Okay, there we go. All right, so the volume of a pyramid, first of all, the formula is V equals 1/3 times the area of the base times the height. So we'll go through and talk about that. V, of course, stands for volume. The 1/3 is 1/3. The capital B, as we've seen, stands for the area of the base. So keep in mind that pyramids can have different kinds of bases. Like this picture over here, the base is this shape right here. Looks like either a square or a rectangle, not sure exactly, but square or a rectangle. So the area of the base, that base is a shape, just like we saw with prisms. So we want to be careful there. That the area of whatever that shape is. Then we have the last thing, which is H, which is the height of the pyramid. And so we do want to be careful as well. The height of the pyramid is measured from the tippy top point down to the center of the base. So straight down the middle, that is the height. So that's our H. All right, let's go forward. The Great Pyramid in Giza, Egypt is approximately a square pyramid with the dimensions shown. What is its volume? And we're going to round to the nearest cubic meter. All right, so the things we have here that says roughly a square pyramid. So we can use the square formula for an area of a square when we get to the base, or we can do length times width. But I'm going to start with volume. So the volume formula is 1/3 times the area of the base times the height. And we already mentioned the base here. It tells us approximately a square. Again, this down here at the bottom. So that is a square. And so when I go to fill in that formula, if you look back on your formula sheet, again, like 2 pages in front of this where we're just at, you're going to, the formula for the area of a square is side squared. You could also do length times width if you wanted. And then the height, that's this number up here, the 146, is pointing to that height of the pyramid. So this would be times, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to leave it as height. We'll put in the 146 in a minute. Sorry, got ahead of myself. All right, so I have 1/3. The side is 230, and we're going to square that, and then we're going to times 146, like so. When we do that in our calculator, I'm actually going to show us, just because this can be confusing. So I'm going to pop over to Desmos. You can just type in desmos.com, scroll down to scientific, and to put in the fraction, there's either the fraction button here, or you can type in 1 divided by, of course, the way that my little things are, let me get rid of those, 1 divided by 3, and it gives me a fraction. So you can do it either way. The other way, like I said, would be to click this and then 1 divided by 3. Anyways, that's the 1/3. Then we want to, I have to, if I just keep typing right now, it's going to give me things in the denominator. I don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit my arrow key, so then the cursor comes to the side. And I'm going to put in 230, so 230, oops, I forgot the times. Let's put in times 230, and then I want to square that. And then I'm going to multiply that by 146. And you can see it gives me this monstrous number, which I will write down on our screen here in just a second. So here goes back to our screen. So that big, terrible number was 2,576,466.667. I mean, it went on more than that, but essentially that. And Here, if I look at where we're supposed to round, back at the top, it says round to the nearest cubic meter. When it says round to the nearest unit, like cubic meter, it means whole number. So I'm going to look back. So I don't want any decimals. I look back. And the 6 tells me, because it's bigger than 5, tells me to round up. So I'm going to turn this into 2,574,467. You're welcome, 67 there. And then I want to make sure I include, actually, since I rounded, sorry, I got ahead of myself, this should say approximately because it was rounded. And then I'm going to make sure to include my units, which were meters, and volume is always cubed. So there's our answer, 2,574,467 meters cubed, or you can say cubic meters. All right, this one, we're going to also look at composite figures. So this is an interesting composite figure. It's as if we took a pyramid, this pyramid right here, and we snooshed it or pushed it into a bunch of Play-Doh and then pulled it out, and that space that I have kind of colored in there is actually space. It's empty. So it's like a hole in the box. It's a little bit weird. It's like I said, if I squished a pyramid into some Play-Doh and then took the pyramid out. So this is actually going to be missing area. I'm going to erase this so we can see our situation a little bit better here. All right, so it says find the volume of the composite figure formed by a pyramid removed, which means we're going to be subtracting that volume from our overall figure, from the prism. And we're going to round to the nearest tenth. So the prism, I'm going to start with the prism. We have a rectangular prism. All right, and then we're going to do the rectangular pyramid in red, so we can see the contrast there. Okay, so I'm going to go back and start, like I said, with the rectangular prism. So for a prism, remember we're looking for the 2 unique base shapes. On my prism, those 2 base shapes are actually here on the side. Here's the 2 matching bases, and then in the middle of those are all the rectangles. So this is one of my bases. Remember, with prisms, it's important to know where the bases are because that helps us to understand height and different stuff like that. So there's a base. I called it a rectangular prism because we don't know that that's a square. Actually, we know it's not a square because we can see measurements on the side, the 15 and the 12. In fact, I might label this, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go ahead to our formula. V equals, for a prism, is area of the base times the height. And just a reminder, the area of the base there is going to be a rectangle. So I'm looking for length times width and then times the height of the prism. So if I go over to those bases, to the right side specifically, I can see length and I can see width. And so I'm going to plug those numbers in. Length is 15, width is 12. So then what is the height? Remember, the height is measured from base to base. So the height is, there's one base and there's the other base. The height is the distance between. So that's going to be times 30. So when I multiply all those again in a calculator, I'm going to get 5,400. And then my units here, we're doing centimeters, and we're going to make sure to say cubed because it is volume. All right, so then I'm going to switch to red, and I'm going to put in my formula for a pyramid is 1/3 times the area of the base times the height. All right, so the 1/3, no problem. The area of the base, in this case we said, I said that it was a rectangular pyramid, so I know this is a rectangle, but let's see if we can figure it out. The tippy top of the pyramid is here. The base is actually here. It's like the pyramid is upside down. So the point of the pyramid is facing down and the base is actually this stuff on top. So that's actually my base for the pyramid. And then for that, because it's a rectangle, I'm going to need length times width. And then I'll need the height of the pyramid eventually here. So let's see if we can figure out length times width. So the length, I believe, would be the 30 across. So this is my length, is 30 across that rectangle there. Length 30 centimeters, just like it was down there from the height from the previous one. It's different measurement, different thing we're doing. So length is 30. And then my width for that rectangle that I kind of shaded in red, the width would be the 12. So the width here is the 12 centimeters. So I'm going to go ahead and times 12. And then finally, the height of the pyramid, that is going to be from the center down to the point. So how tall is that box? Essentially, it was 15. So this is going to be 15 centimeters. All right, so this is going to be 15. When I multiply all of those lovelies together, I get 1,800, and this is centimeters cubed. And again, this one's a little bit different because that pyramid has been removed. We're actually subtracting. So I'm going to go back to my numbers, and I'm going to do my 5,400, which was the prism. So here we go, 5,400, and I'm subtracting from it the 1,800 that is the pyramid. When I do that, I get my final volume of 3,600. Don't forget your units, centimeters cubed. All right. One more lovely composite, because this one is a little involved, but in a kind of a different way than the other one. This one we're going to be adding. We're building pyramids on top. So I'm going to start with, it tells me at the top I have a rectangular prism. So rectangular prism. And it says 2 square pyramids. So I'm going to write this out in my other color here, red. So I have square pyramid, and there are 2 of them. Okay, so I'm just going to remind myself that. I'm going to do my math to work through it with just one, and then we'll end up doubling it. So back to the prism. Rectangular prism, my 2 bases for that prism, the 2 matching sides are this one and this one. So those are the bases. And I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Volume for a prism is area of the base times the height. And we know that the base is a rectangle because they told us it was a rectangular prism. And so I'm going to replace the area of the base with length times width. And then we have times the height of the prism. So length times width, if I go over and look at this, my length appears to be the 5. And my width, this one's a little weird because if I'm looking at this rectangle that's a base, the width would actually be the 2. It's written over here, but it would be the same because we'd have 5 and 2. So I have length of 5 and width of 2. Remember, the height, when we're talking about a prism, is the distance between the bases. So that amount is the height of my prism is actually 10. So I'm going to do times 10. And that I can do actually in my head. 5 times 2 is 10, times 10 is 100. And this is feet, and we're going to make sure it is cubed. All right. Then 100, there we go. All right, let's switch over to red. For the volume of a pyramid, we have volume equals 1/3 the area of the base times the height. We were told our base is a square, so we're going to use that square formula. So here we go. That is 1/3. The area of a square is side squared, and then times the height of the pyramid. Okay, so here goes. Let's see. I have 1/3. I need to know what is the side length for one of my pyramids. So on this one, if we look carefully, there's a lot of markings going on in there, but there's a tick mark here and a tick mark here, and there's one here, and there's one here, and there's one here. We were told these are square pyramids, so we would expect all of those side lengths to be the same. If those are going to be the same and there's 2 of them and the distance across that whole thing is 10, then each side must be 5. And we see that as well on the side here with the 5. That's the length of that side. 2 of them make 10. So our side length for the base of my pyramids is 5. And I'm going to square it. The height of my pyramids given here at the top equal to 3. So times 3. All right, and when we multiply that out, again, grabbing that calculator, we get 25 feet cubed. When we go to add this one up, we do need to be careful. I have my rectangular prism, which is the bottom part, the 100, I have one square pyramid is 25. The other square pyramid is also 25 because they're the same. And then I'm going to add those up so I get a final answer of volume is 150. And again, the units are feet and cubed. And I do believe that finishes our notes. Go ahead and look at your success criteria. If you've got it, check it off. Otherwise, circle it. And we'll see you later.